Good morning. I first want to apologize. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to try to go a little quickly. But first, I want to thank the state treasurer and especially his staff. Has been so great to work with, and Courtney for all her planning, and for the team at Aspen. Jeremy, thank you for the invite, and to the board for all of the work that you guys are doing to implement this really important program. So I'm with Heartland Alliance, which is a nonprofit based here in Chicago. I lead the financial empowerment policy work, and also coordinate a statewide coalition called the Illinois Asset Building Group. And myself and many of the advocates that are partners of ours in the coalition, a number of them that are here today, the Woodstock Institute, Shriver Center, AARP, have been advocating for this policy for a long time. We were introducing legislation for about 6 years, I think, before it was passed with the obviously great work of Senator Biss and Leader Curry. And our aim all along has always been to build retirement security and really expand access to a vital tool that workers in Illinois need in order to have a secured retirement, and in fact, in order to retire at all. And while that has, while the legislation has changed over time, that's always been the aim. And as we think about implementing the program, that's really the focus: is how do we impact the most number of workers, and how do we really help them build retirement savings? The clicker, I have to remember how to use it. So while the economy is recovering, families both low and middle income are financially fragile. We have about a quarter of households that are asset poor, which means they don't have enough savings or assets, larger assets, to get by if they to stay above the federal poverty level, for at least 3 months if they lose their income. About 40% of Illinois households are liquid asset poor, so they don't have that emergency savings that they need when unexpected expenses come. And we also know that there's a number of families, about 16%, that are living in extreme asset poverty, which means they have absolutely no wealth, or in fact, they have negative wealth. So this seems really daunting, but what it means is that for a lot of these families, this is going to be one of the only ways that they're saving. And we also know that about 25% of Illinois households, are unbanked or underbanked, which means that for the majority of their financial services interactions, they're using alternative services. So they either don't have a bank account, or they might have a bank account, but they're using alternative service like a check casher, or maybe a payday loan, a title loan. So again, this account is really going to be crucial for them as they build their future financial security. So thanks to research at the Woodstock Institute, I think Spencer's in the room, led by Spencer. Spencer here? Yeah, there he is. We know that about 2.5 million Illinois private sector workers don't have access to a employer-based retirement savings account, and about 1.2 million of them are working at businesses with 25 or more employees. Administration and support, retail and manufacturing. And we know that these sectors have a lot of part-time workers, and they have pretty high turnover. So I know a lot of the pieces I've talked about have already been discussed when we talk about how we can support high participation rates. So I'm going to skip through some of these quickly, but there's certainly some pieces I just want to dig a little bit deeper into, given the population that we're thinking about. So, yay! we already have automatic enrollment, which is great. So we know automatic enrollment, people have been saying it throughout the whole day, is so important to participation, which company I've been investing in. And I think if people don't have accessible ways where they can get their questions answered, they're not gonna be contributing adequately, and they're certainly, if they change jobs, not gonna stick with this product and this experience. We need accessible language, and when I say language, I mean we need, obviously, materials in languages other than just English, but we also need accessible language that is not overwhelming, that clearly describes the program and the person's experiences and answers the questions that they need answered. Another key feature is investment flexibility. And then there's a number of different ways to think about flexibility, but I think overall flexibility should be the theme of this program. Workers, especially part-time workers or lower income workers, have schedules that are changing. There's going to be more turnover. But they should be able to change their contribution level if they need to respond to some sort of a financial crisis, and that should be easy to do. I also think that there should be flexibility in the way people are investing. So people should have the opportunity to invest outside of a payroll contribution. So while that is the cornerstone and that is key, some families get their EITC, their tax refund, so they're getting an influx of income during tax time, and this program should seize on that. We should look at ways to make sure that, can I get some water? Showed you my water, thanks. Sorry. I did not expect to be sick. Tried to do that better than Marco Rubio. Just made it very clear that I needed water. So with tax time, we should be looking at the state tax return. I encourage the state treasurer staff and the board to look at that. Illinois gets a significant refundable state tax refund. It should be easy. A person should be able to split their refund and put a portion into their Roth IRA, their secure choice account. In some states, we can learn from what some states have done with their 529 account. So 529, almost every state has a 529 program, and in states like Arkansas, a person doesn't even need their account number for their 529 account. They can just check a box and say how much they want put into it, and the treasurer's office and their Department of Revenue match up records, and a portion is put into that account. So making it easy as possible, and thinking a little bit more outside the box about people's income flow. And we have David Marcel on the board, who knows a lot about tax time, so he can help you out there. We want the accounts to be portable. Everyone's talked about this, and obviously there's a lot of challenges in here. So, this is, on average, people change their jobs about 4.4 years. For low-income workers, it's more often. For young people, it's a lot more often. This program is really going to benefit young workers, so this is a key feature that we're going to need to work out. Another key feature is engagement with the accounts. So I think helping workers understand their need for retirement savings is going to be a big challenge. And I think the more that the language can be future-focused and the messaging can be on goals, the better. Again, I point to some of the innovations in 529 accounts. A number of states have are automatically opening up 529 accounts for families, and the way that they are communicating those investments and those automatically opened accounts can be really creative. Maine, especially, the state of Maine has done some really creative messaging to really encourage the child and the parent to own the account and to engage in the account. And I think there's some lessons learned for secure choice in some of that messaging and that goal-oriented, future-focused language. I also think there's a whole community that can help people engage with the accounts, and we should look at the Affordable Care Act's Navigator model, where we're tapping into financial coaches and financial educators around the state that can help people understand and do some of that heavy lifting. So the use of funds, so this is where we have this tension, right? We want people to be saving for retirement, and we want it to be future-oriented. But at the same time, given the financial vulnerability of some households, the reality is that workers may need to use those funds. And I think we need to figure out a way to do that in a way that makes sense for workers. NCLR, in doing some focus groups in California, found that workers are actually more likely to opt out of the program if they don't think they're going to have control over their funds. So I think we really need to find a balance and be careful with language there. And then another key feature that is really important is we need to be measuring the impact of this program. So what the types of savings programs that work for workers, especially low-income workers, have automatic enrollment, which check we have, awesome. Is universal, which we don't have yet. And universal is important because you want to make it the program, you don't want to, even if it's not universal, even if you try as hard as you can, you're going to inadvertently leave people out of the program. And we see this throughout history, and it's why we have so much inequality in this country when it comes to wealth. What we need is a universal program. We need to lower the threshold, but we're not going to be able to do that until we understand what the impact of the program is as we roll it out over the next few years. And so while the vendor, the investment firm may not be the group that's measuring the impact, it's important that they're working with the state treasurer and the board to share information so that we can have a really good grasp of the impact that the program is having. And finally, I didn't put this on here, but as I was listening today, again, a program that works especially for low-wage workers is automatic, universal, but it's also progressive. And I guess if Senator Biss and Leader Curry are still in the audience, Senator Biss is there. I think what we need to find a way to make this program progressive. We don't, because of ERISA, businesses are not able to contribute a portion or a percentage. And that's a huge incentive for saving in retirement. And I think the state at some point, and the board is obviously maybe not the audience for this, is that would advocate for a saver's credit. For a saver's credit that rewards people for saving for retirement, and especially low-wage workers for saving for retirement. A saver's credit could be structured in that it's a credit for the amount that you save. It could reward behavior if we're really concerned about people taking out funds for retirement. But I think it's a policy that we should consider if we really want people to be saving long term, especially financially insecure families to be saving for retirement. So I think I'll leave it with that advocacy note, but I'm happy to answer any questions.